Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our modelled writing videos. So today we are looking at two task 2 questions. These are the longer essay style questions. You will have 40 minutes to answer these questions, and you'll be expected to write a minimum of 250 words. However, there is no upper limit, so it doesn't matter how much you write as long as everything is as long as that the minimum is met and everything is relevant, then that's the goal. Okay, so today we'll be tackling two questions, like I said, and along the way we'll do our plan. So a plan is really important to stay on track. And then we'll do the write up as if we were in the exam itself. So I hope this is helpful for you in your IELTS journey. Maybe you've booked your exam, maybe you're not sure about task 2, maybe you just want some advice on how to get the top band scores. Well, all of those questions, all of your queries and questions should be answered with our videos, and we'll look at that in a bit more detail today. Okay, let's get started. And the first topic is buildings. Some people believe that it is important to preserve historic buildings, while others think that it is more important to build new buildings. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Okay, so that's the first thing that jumps out to me, the type of question. We need to talk about both of these statements and give our own opinions. So if you've seen our videos before, then you'll know that I like to weave the opinion in with the second paragraph. So we'll have our introduction, we'll have our other side that we're presenting, then we present our opinion side in with the third paragraph, and then we finish with the conclusion. I just think this leaves a stronger essay with a better flow. I like putting your opinion and then the conclusion because it makes it really clear what side you're on. And clarity is very important in the IELTS exam. Okay, well, let's have a think then and put our ideas into a plan. So, some people believe that it is important to preserve historic buildings, that's one side, while others believe that it is more important to build new buildings. Okay, I think I'm going to put my opinion into preserve historic buildings, and I'll just write opinion to keep me on track here. While on the other hand, I'm going to talk about new buildings first. Okay, so new buildings. What can I generate for this paragraph? Well, you can build the highest to the top standards of architecture for that time. So highest standards, quality, etc. And we can talk about this idea that asbestos was used to build houses and buildings a long time ago. And it's actually later been discovered that it's toxic if it's disturbed. So newer buildings don't have this material built with them anymore. And so potentially safer for people as well. And maybe we could talk about the aesthetics, so maybe they look nicer, look more fresh and new. Okay, so preserve. Or actually, a good example for that, fresh and new. For example, after World War II, Warsaw basically had to be built from scratch. They replicated the same style as before the war, but obviously everything is new and fresh and clean, so it looks very believable. Actually, you wouldn't know that it's the old town is sort of almost completely rebuilt. So in that case, it was easier to build new than to preserve the buildings and go from there. It was easier to knock down and start afresh. Okay, so I'm going to argue, however, that it is more important to preserve historic buildings because they provide an insight into culture. You know, what designs were popular, what was happening in history. And as a society, I feel like it's very easy to start from scratch. With a lot of things, we have this sort of throwaway culture. We'd rather something new and fresh than preserved. So it's important to stay away from this throwaway culture, I think. Not the buildings, you can throw away buildings, but you can definitely restore what you already have as well. Restoration is really important. That's similar to preserve. You can go one step further and sort of, use this preservation and build next to or on top of that as well. Okay, I think we've got enough to elaborate there. So while new buildings are of a higher standard, this is our conclusion now, higher standard, preservation is more important. That's what we're going to argue here today. Okay, so let's go to the essay. We've got our notes. You'll obviously have them next to you in the exam. And we're going to start by paraphrasing this sentence here. Some people believe that it is important to preserve historic buildings, while others think that it is more important to build new buildings. Let's have a think. So we could say on one side, it is the case, or various groups argue that it is imperative to keep or to sustain architecture that has significant value, that is old, and architecture that is old and has significant value, maybe that is dated, while others think that it is more important to build new buildings. On the other hand, there is the case for the value of creating structures from scratch. Let's read this back and see how it's sounding. On one side, comma, various groups argue that it is, so it's really important to go back and edit. It is imperative to sustain architecture that is dated and has significant value. Maybe historic value. So we're just changing the word format there. If you're not sure how to paraphrase completely, you can just change the word form. Oh, actually, it's the same word form. Significant value, historic value, significant value. Maybe we could say that architecture that had a significant role in history. On the other hand, there is the case for the value of creating structures from scratch. Okay, so now let's go into what we're going to do. So for the purpose of this essay, I will analyse both sides. We've used side, both opinions, and agree that preservation is of the utmost importance. Oh, it's with a T, utmost. Okay. For the purpose of this essay, I will analyse both opinions and agree that preservation is of the utmost importance. Right, okay, so let's present the side that we're not going to be tying our opinion in with, and that's going to be the new buildings. The clear benefits of modern buildings being maybe erected is the issue of quality. So we're going straight in with our topic sentence, what we're talking about, and the actual clearest benefits of this. The most updated standards of the day can be applied to new builds, and this leads to better insulation, for example, and ultimately more saving for the and ultimately less spending in terms of bills for the inhabitants. Okay, so a new build is better insulated, it is easier to run. So the most updated standard of the day can be applied to new builds, and this leads to better insulation, for example, and ultimately less spending in terms. Let's do a nice full stop there to just break it up a bit. This leads to better insulation, for example, and ultimately less spending in terms of bills for the inhabitants. Okay. Knowledge and aesthetics. Aesthetics have. We're just checking our spelling. All the TH have changed dramatically over the years, and it is vital to apply rigorous let's tie this back to the question. Knowledge and aesthetics have changed dramatically over the years. And this updated We've done updated standard. Modern take can best be applied to new buildings. Okay. For example, let's go into the asbestos. Asbestos was a popular material for lining houses in the past. However, it was later discovered when disturbed it was toxic. Today, removing it can be a troublesome job that requires professionals and that requires professionals. The latest houses being built would not have this problem. Okay, let's read this back and see how it's sounding. The clear benefit of modern buildings being erected is the issue of quality. The most updated standard of the day can be applied to new builds. This leads to better insulation, for example, and ultimately less spending in terms of bills for the inhabitants. Knowledge and aesthetics have changed dramatically over the years, and this modern take can be best applied to new buildings. For example, asbestos was a popular material for lining houses in the past. However, it was later discovered when disturbed. Let's do a nice comma. When disturbed, comma, it was toxic. Today, removing it can be a troublesome job that requires professionals. The latest houses being built would not have this problem. Okay, that's one side. Now let's go into our other side, which is that actually historic buildings should be preserved. Okay. While the safety aspect is essential, this does not distract from the clear point of view that should be sided with. However, this does not distract from the clear point of view that should be sided with. There is no doubt that places with areas with particular significance including bricks and mortar should be cherished and even restored if possible. Let's say that. There is no doubt that areas with particular significance, including bricks and mortar, should be cherished and even restored. Okay, so they provide an insight into culture, tastes, ideas, and preferences of the past. They also add variation to what could be a fairly uninspiring, repetitive, fairly repetitive architecture otherwise. They also add variation to what could be fairly repetitive architecture otherwise. Okay, we tend to have, let's talk about how society has this throwaway culture. And actually, we should be leaning more towards the, just for, environmental purposes as well. Additionally, for environmental purposes, it is more beneficial to maintain and look after rather than start again with new materials. We could use, there's an area in Budapest which was also damaged by the war, and now it's a big tourist attraction. They've turned it into cafes, bars, restaurants. So this is a nice example of how something can be preserved and enjoyed. A prime example of this is an area in Budapest previously damaged by World War II. Now the ruins serve as restaurants and bars. Now the ruins serve as restaurants and bars. Simultaneously attracting tourists and preserving history. Okay, let's read this back and see how this sounds. While the safety aspect is essential, this does not distract from the clear point of view that should be sided with. There is no doubt that areas with particular significance, including bricks and mortar, should be cherished and even restored. They provide an insight into culture, ideas, and preferences of the past. They also add variation to what could be a fairly repetitive architectural landscape otherwise. Additionally, for environmental purposes, it is more beneficial to maintain and look after rather than start again with new materials. A prime example of this is an area in Budapest previously damaged by World War II. Let's do a nice full stop there. Now the ruins serve as restaurants and bars, simultaneously attracting tourists and preserving history. Okay, I think that's good. Let's do a nice conclusion for this. So, in summary, while updated buildings can use better quality materials, they will never come close to the value of, to the societal, cultural value of older structures as their uniqueness is what allows us to learn about historic times. Learn about history. They will never come close to the cultural value of older structures, as their uniqueness is what allows us. Maybe this is a bit wordy. They will never come close to the cultural value of older structures. Let's just do a nice extra line. They will never come close to the cultural value of older structures. It is vital to uphold them in society and not discard them for something for and not discard them for the new. It is vital to uphold them in society and not discard them for the new. Okay, I think that's all right. Let's count the words on this one. Okay, so this answer has come to 315 words. So that's quite a nice amount there. And you can see how we've discussed both sides and then interweaved our opinion in with the second main body paragraph. So I hope that's been helpful. That was our first task of the day. And discuss both sides and then give your opinion type of question. These are fairly common, so it's good to be aware of them and have some practice with them. Lovely. Well, let's get started on the next topic, which is living alone. In many countries, more and more people are living alone. What are the reasons for this trend? What are the advantages and disadvantages of living alone? Okay, so we've got a two-part question. What are the reasons for this trend? Firstly, that's the first question. And then the second question combines the two. What are the advantages and disadvantages of living alone? So there's a few ways that you can approach this question, and there's no, as long as you're answering the question fully, there's no right or wrong way. Some people would approach this and talk about, would start with their introduction, and then they would talk about the reasons, maybe in the second paragraph. Then maybe you could do a paragraph on advantages and disadvantages, and then conclusion. So perhaps a 5-paragraph structure essay. But I think today what I'm going to do is treat them as 2 questions. So stick to the 4-paragraph essay. So we'll do our introduction, reasons, and then in one I might do the advantages and disadvantages in the 3rd paragraph together, and then of course end with the conclusion. Okay, let's have a look then and see what we can do for our plan. So paragraph 1, we're going to talk about the reasons, and then paragraph 2, we've got, well, advantages and disadvantages. That's if we can mention a couple for each, that would be great, but we'll see how we go for this one. So the reasons that people are living alone, I I think we live in a individualistic society where we're very career focused nowadays. And you might move somewhere to pursue your career, you might move to a bigger city, and want to, maybe you're doing quite well in your career, so you don't want to house share anymore, but you want to, it's more ideal to have your own place. So, sort of young professionals are the gap until, well, a young professional, there's quite a broad range that this can encompass. You can be just out of university, maybe, or well into 30s and later. So, another reason intertwined with this is that there is less pressure to find a partner at a young age. So, the combination of this means that there are more people living alone because simply the pressure to marry and have kids is not as strong as it was a generation ago, for example. And a lot of people don't have children, aren't having children, less and less. Less people are marrying, or if they are, they're doing both of those things later in life. Okay, so those are the reasons. Advantages and disadvantages of living alone. Well, of course, the main advantage I can think of is freedom. You can discover who you are as a person. You've got no supervision, so you can effectively do anything within reason, and no one is going to say anything or have an opinion because you're living alone. The disadvantage is, of course, the money, the financial commitment. That's what springs to mind. Let's have a think. A one-bedroom flat in not London, but in a relatively big city in the UK would probably set somebody back around £600 a month, maybe excluding bills. So that is no mean feat. I mean, that's is a big commitment for a lot of people. So the money side of things, and maybe the responsibility as well. I mean, you're living alone, so if there's any problems, it's on you to solve them. There's no one to share the running of the house with, in terms of money and in terms of upkeep. Okay, so the conclusion. There are many, we'll just restate what we've been talking about in the essay. There are many reasons for this, and benefits and drawbacks of the situation. Okay, I think that's good. We've got plenty of ideas there. And of course, in the essay, we'll expand, include examples, explain ourselves. So we've got a nice structure here. Okay, then. Well, let's go to the essay itself. And we are going to start, as always, by paraphrasing the statement. In many countries, more and more people are living alone. In various nations around the world, there is an increasing trend of individuals choosing to reside by themselves, live by themselves. In various nations around the world, there is an increasing trend of individuals choosing to reside by themselves. I think that's good. Okay, let's set out what this essay is going to do. This essay will display the reasons for this maybe phenomenon, and also it will outline the benefits and drawbacks of such a situation. This essay will display the reasons, I'm not sure about display, will examine the reasons for this phenomenon, and also it will, maybe we could say full stop, and then it will additionally outline the benefits and drawbacks of such a situation. Okay, I think that's good. So let's go into our first paragraph, and this is going to look at the reasons for this trend. Okay, so we were talking about this individualistic society. People are people aren't living with their families for as long. People are wanting to pursue careers. There's less pressure on finding a partner. There are some striking we'll do a nice topic sentence. There are some striking why people are deciding to live alone is multifaceted, which means there's multiple reasons why people are deciding to live alone is multifaceted. The primary reason being in the individualistic society we live in, young professionals want to strike out and stand on their own 2 feet. There we go. The primary reason being in the individualistic society we live in nowadays, maybe? Young professionals want to strike out and stand on their own 2 feet. Okay, so career, have we used individualistic? Career-minded. Career-minded groups in society. We've used society. We've used people, society. Maybe those who are career-minded may move to a bigger city. Rise up the career ladder and choose to I want to say that they choose to take the step or dedicate some, because it's not cheap to live alone, so they think it's almost like a rite of passage to live alone and dedicate some of their wage to it. Rise up the career ladder and choose to use their income to support a more comfortable living situation, because you don't have to think about anyone else. Comfortable living situation where they do not have to worry about other about housemates, maybe. We're almost going into the benefits and advantages here, actually. So, um, choose to support a those who are career minded may move to a bigger city, rise up the career ladder, and rather than living with strangers, potentially, so that's the reality, housemates, they choose to find their own living space. Okay, I think that's good. Maybe we could go on to less pressure on finding a partner early in life. So, in conjunction with this, in conjunction with this, in Western society, there is less pressure on marrying and having kids early on. Millennials are doing the um have used choosing before, are doing these life stages. Millennials are doing these life steps into their 30s and even 40s. Therefore, it is not unusual to be on your own or to be living it is not unusual to have your own apartment until you decide to settle down. Okay, let's read this back and see how it's sounding. Why people are deciding to live alone is multifaceted. The primary reason being, in the individualistic society we live in nowadays, young professionals want to strike out and stand on their own 2 feet. Those who are career minded may move to a bigger city, rise up the career ladder, and rather than living with strangers potentially, they choose to find their own living space. In conjunction with this, in Western society, there is less pressure on marrying and having kids early on. Millennials are doing these life steps into their 30s and even 40s. Therefore, it is not unusual to have your own apartment until you decide to settle down. We could say until one decides to settle down. Okay, I think that's good. We've answered the first question. What are the reasons for this trend? Okay, so let's go into the benefits and the drawbacks. Let's start with the benefits. So, this scenario presents many advantages. The main one being the sense of freedom. No one is questioning how you run your home, when you will be back for dinner, and No one is questioning how you run your home, when you will be back for dinner, or in general, there is less judgment on how you live your life. Okay, so this idea of freedom. Moreover, we've touched upon not living with strangers as well here. So, if you live with housemates or even friends, this can lead to strained relationships. On your own, however, you are able to you can choose who you want to spend time with and when. Okay, so those are our advantages. Now we can go into the disadvantages. On the other hand, this being by yourself does present some challenges. The most striking one being the financial commitment. In a large town or city in the UK, a one-bed apartment will set you back a minimum of, say, £500, maybe £500, usually a lot more. You could even say this is no mean feat. So the financial commitment is intense with living alone. Okay. Maybe mean feet isn't. This is no. Maybe that's okay. £500, for example. On top of that, you will not have anyone to share the running of the house, the chores, the problems, and the general the chores, the problems, we could say running of the house, the chores, and any issues are all down to you. Okay, let's read this back, see how it sounds. This scenario presents many advantages, the main one being the sense of freedom. No one is questioning how you run your home, when you will be back for dinner, or in general, there is less judgment on how you live your life. Moreover, if you live with housemates or even friends, this can lead to strained relationships. On your own, however, you can choose who you want to spend time with and when. On the other hand, being by yourself does present some challenges, the most striking one being the financial commitment. In a large town or city in the UK, a one-bed apartment will set you back a minimum of £500 a month, for example. We could say often excluding bills. On top of that, you will not have anyone to share the running of the house, the chores, and any issues are all down to you. Okay, then, let's tie this up. I think that's good. Let's tie this up with a nice conclusion. So, in conclusion, without the pressure of settling down, without the pressure of starting a family early on in life, young people tend to live alone. More young people tend to live alone. This is ideal for one's own growth, but also there's no one or nobody else to share the ups and downs of to share the jobs that the home entails. In conclusion, without the pressure of starting a family early on in life, more young people tend to live alone. This is ideal for one's own growth, but also there is nobody else to share the jobs that the home entails. Okay, I think that's good. Let's count the words of this one. Okay, so this comes to a total of 337 words, so a bit over the 250 minimum there. But you can see how we've structured these this essay. We've decided to do the first question in one and the second question in one. So do let us know how you would approach this question. I'd really like to hear your thoughts and opinions. And I hope you found today helpful. This is all great practice for you in your IELTS journey. So welcome to let us know how it's going and ask any questions you might have. And we'll see you in the next video.